close your eyes for just a moment. Imagine a stadium, the roar of the crowd, the smell of sweat and stone, and something older, something burning. You've felt this before, haven't you? That electric charge in the air when the game is about to begin. That collective breath held by thousands of people at once. That primal hunger to see who wins. You think this feeling is modern. You think the World Cup invented it. But you don't know the real story yet. Over 1,000 years before the first football was ever kicked on a European pitch, there was a game, a real game, played on stone courts in the beating heart of Mesoamerica. A game so sacred, so violent, so cosmically important that the gods themselves were said to watch from the sky above. The Aztecs called it Olamalistli, and once you understand what it truly was, you will never watch a World Cup match the same way again. Let's go back, far back, to a world before concrete stadiums and television cameras, to a time when sport was not entertainment. It was devotion. It was negotiation with forces that could end the world. The ball court, the tlakli, was not a field. It was a sacred space, a portal, long and narrow, shaped like a capital one, with towering stone walls on either side. Carved into those walls at the midpoint were 2 stone rings, vertical rings. The goal was not to score points by modern logic. The goal was to pass a rubber ball, a solid, heavy rubber ball called an ollie, made from the sap of the rubber tree, through one of those rings, using only your hips, your elbows, your knees, not your hands, not your feet, your body, shaped into a weapon, working against gravity and stone and the body of your opponent. The ball weighed between 3 and 4 kilograms. It moved fast. It bruised. It broke bones. Players wore padding made from leather and woven cotton, but they still left the court bleeding, still left with welts and fractures that healed crooked. This was not casual. This was not recreational. Every player on that court understood the weight of what they were doing, because the game was not just a game. The Aztecs believed the movement of the sun across the sky was not automatic. It was not guaranteed. The sun had to be fed, and what fed it? Blood, sacrifice, the sacred energy released when a human life ended at the height of ritual devotion. The ball game was one of the primary mechanisms through which that energy was delivered. Here is where history gets complicated and where it gets dark. For a long time, scholars assumed it was the losers who died, that the team who failed to drive the ball through the ring was marched to the altar. Some accounts support this. Some murals at ancient sites like Chichen, Itza, where the Maya played a nearly identical game they called pits, show decapitated players, heads rolled away from their bodies like the ball itself. The defeated dispatched, the winners celebrated. But more recent scholarship has flipped this entirely. Some researchers now believe it was the winners who were sacrificed, not as punishment, as honor, as the greatest possible gift a human could offer, to be at the absolute peak of your power, your strength, your victory, and to give that energy directly to the sun, to die not in defeat, but in triumph, to become fuel for the cosmos at the moment you proved you are worthy of that role. Think about that. The better you played, the more likely you were to die, and yet they played. And yet they competed with everything they had, because in their world, to be chosen for sacrifice after victory was not death. It was transformation. It was ascension. The soul of a sacrificed warrior did not go to a dark place. It became light, It became part of the sun that crossed the sky each day and promised that tomorrow would come. The ball itself was sacred. The rubber was harvested from trees that bled white sap like a wound, then processed into a solid black sphere through a ritual that involved mixing the latex with juice from a particular vine. The ball was not manufactured. It was created. There are accounts of the ball being painted, consecrated, sometimes even believed to contain a piece of the divine. When that ball moved, something moved with it that human eyes could not see. The courts themselves were built in alignment with celestial events. The rings were positioned at solar angles. The game often began or ended at precise astronomical moments, equinoxes, solstices, the appearance of the Pleiades on the horizon. Nothing about this was random. Everything was calculated. Every match was a ritual performance of the cosmic story the Aztecs told themselves about why the universe existed and what it cost to keep it running. Now, come back to the present. To the glowing screen, you watched the last World Cup on. To the stadium filled with 100,000 people from 100 different nations. To the ball arcing through the air under floodlights. To the collective scream when it crosses a line. Ask yourself, why do you care so much? Why does a game between strangers in a foreign country produce genuine grief in your body when the wrong team wins? Why do people weep? Why do nations pause? Why do wars get postponed for a match? Because sport is not entertainment. It was never just entertainment. It is the echo of something ancient, something written into the structure of human community long before we had language to explain it. We gather, we choose sides, we assign cosmic meaning to the outcome. We need the game to matter in a way that goes beyond statistics and trophies. The Aztecs understood this. They did not stumble into ritual sport by accident. They built it deliberately because they understood that collective human energy, focused, elevated, released, was one of the most powerful forces their civilization could produce. The game was how they harnessed it. The sacrifice was how they spent it. You have inherited this. Every time you paint your face in your nation's colors, every time you scream at a screen because a ball crossed a line, every time your heart breaks or soars based on the actions of 22 people you have never met, you are participating in something ancient. Something that predates the FIFA World Cup by 3,000 years. The stone rings still stand at Chichen, Itza. They are tilted at their strange vertical angle, worn smooth by centuries of wind and the hands of curious visitors. You can stand beneath one and look up through the circle at the sky beyond, at the sun, and if you are very quiet, and the crowd noise from the tour groups fades for just a moment, you might feel it, that charge, that sacred electricity, that sense that something important is being decided, that the game is not over. Close your eyes for just a moment. Imagine a stadium, the roar of the crowd, the smell of sweat and stone, and something burning. You felt this before. You will feel it again. And now you know exactly what it is.